Mr. Speaker, it's great to see you. Thanks for the time.
Welcome. Glad you're here on the Hill. Good to have you.
Jeffrey Epstein, has it ground the House of Representatives to a halt? That is the public perception.
I think the Democrats are working really hard to make that the public perception, but it's not true. I made the case many times today, and I have over this week. The House Republicans are united on this. We all want full disclosure, maximum disclosure. Many of us have been intellectually consistent about that from the beginning, and nothing has changed in that regard. The president himself is there as well. There's no daylight between us and the White House, and he says he wants all credible evidence to be put out there for the American people to make their own conclusions, and they're working on that. The problem they have is that much of what is referred to loosely as the Epstein files is under seal by the courts. And so you got to have the Department of Justice go in and request the release, for example, of the grand jury testimony.
That was denied today by one Florida judge because it's a very difficult, delicate process.
It is, and there's a reason for that. I'm a former litigator of federal courts. I mean, the grand jury process is jealously guarded, and a lot of the material that comes out of there cannot be carefully evaluated by people because there's no cross-examination in a grand jury hearing. No. I mean, none of the evidence has to be corroborated. It's not a full trial setting. So a lot of allegations can be made in a situation like that, where if the public just viewed it that way, they might skew it one way or the other. So it's something in our system that has traditionally been protected. The judges are cautious about that, understand that. But at the same time, this matter, I think, is an unusual one. It merits, there's so much public attention regarding this, and the allegations are so dastardly. I mean, just evil acts. The people deserve to know, and so that's why they're pressing for it.
And to the point, when the Trump Justice Department said there were more than 1,000 victims, for people who knew this case very, very well, did a lot of investigative work on it, that number surprised them. High number.
Yeah.
Meaning that, to their minds, investigative reporters and others, there have to be accomplices, uncharged accomplices, and that aspect of justice is still missing.
Yes, and it's of great concern to us. I mean, we want full transparency. We want everybody who is involved in any way with the Epstein evils, let's call it what it was, to be brought to justice as quickly as possible. We want the full weight of the law on their heads.
But when the Justice Department said in that same two-page memo, there's no reason to pursue further prosecutions, many said, how can those two things be properly aligned?
These are good questions. I don't know. I've never seen the Epstein evidence. It wasn't in my lane. But I have the same concern and question that a lot of people do. And look, I think the president
This is not a hoax, in other words.
Oh, it's not a hoax. Of course not. I mean, there are real victims here. But that's part of the delicate, the balance that's being done here is, I tried to explain in my press conference this week, man, we want full disclosure. If I had these things in my possession, I would have put them out a long time ago. But I would also have been very careful to protect the innocent. It's the standard in law enforcement, in the courts, and in government agencies that you do protect the innocent. Victims, for example, of sex trafficking and horrific crimes, we don't want their names exposed because they would be subjected to more harm. And so you have to be careful in how you do that. But at the same time, maximum transparency, all credible evidence, we have to keep pushing for that.
We're going to move on, but I want to read you three quotes. One from Ralph Norman, Republican, South Carolina. The public's not going to let this die, and rightfully so. Ro Khanna, Democrat from California. The question is, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of the rich and powerful protecting men, or are you on the side of young girls and America's children? Last quote, Tom Massey. I think, Kentucky Republican, I think it is a watershed moment for the Speaker and the House and the President. Evaluate those three for me.
Well, I talked to Ralph Norman about 10 minutes ago before I walked in here with you, and he and I agree on this matter. I agree with what he said. With regard to Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey, I would say, if you're so concerned, why didn't you bring your discharge petition at any time in the last 4 years? Remember, President Biden and his DOJ had these files for 4 years. Neither of those guys said a word about it. Thomas Massey is suggesting that this is some sort of watershed moment. We are all on the same page trying to advance the truth, full truth and transparency. And the idea that he's suddenly so concerned about it is curious to me. He waited until President Trump was elected to bring this.
Hypocritical?
Seems that way to me.
I want you to do a thought experiment for me. It is election night 2026.
Yes.
Are you celebrating or are you explaining?
We're celebrating.
What are you celebrating on election night 2026?
I am very bullish on election night 26. I'm absolutely convinced we're going to grow the House majority. A lot of reasons for that. It's not groundless optimism. It's going to be the result of a lot of hard work. The fact that we're delivering on our promises to the people. We had a true demographic shift in the 2024 election. We had a record number of Hispanic and Latino voters, for example, Black and African American voters, Jewish voters, union workers, who came to the Republican Party who had not been there traditionally in large numbers before because they came with hopeful anticipation. And we're delivering. The One Big Beautiful Bill is a big piece of that. It's geared for lower and middle class, hardworking Americans. They will feel the effects of that before the midterm election in 2026. In addition to that, I think it's providential, but we have the most favorable election map that our team has had in decades. And what I mean by that is, as you and I are sitting here talking this evening, there are 13 House Democrats sitting in districts that President Trump won. There's another 21 of them sitting in districts he came within 5 points of winning. And it gives us an offensive opportunity because conversely, there's only 3 House Republicans sitting in Kamala Harris districts. So I like those odds. We're going to go out and target those seats that we can flip from blue to red. We're going to go out, run on our record. It's going to resonate with the people, and we're going to have a good night.
Do you want Texas to draw, as President Trump has outlined, 5 more districts nominally Republican, or leave it as it is?
Well, the jury's still out on that one. I mean, I didn't have
What's your advice to the governor of
Governor
Texas?
Abbott?
Yeah, Governor Abbott.
Well, they need to follow the law. They need to be fair.
They have legal rights to do it. Supreme Court settled that.
Of course, right. And I think they will do. I'm a fan of Governor Abbott. I think he's been a great governor there. And I think the outcome probably inures to our benefit. It sounds like, I mean, Texas is a red state, and that all makes sense. But we're still awaiting the outcome. I haven't seen the maps yet. No one consulted me on that. But I am in charge of the whole map in a certain respect, in that I'm supposed to make sure that my party maintains the majority. I did that in 24, and I'll do it again. And we've got a lot more to run on now than we did last time. So I'm bullish.
You mentioned the big, beautiful, now law. I want to cite some recent CBS News polling on that. 47% told us it will hurt. 28% said it will have not much effect on their lives. 25% said it will help. Do you have some salesmanship to do?
Yeah, we do. I'm not surprised by those numbers because they've gotten a steady diet of misinformation by most of the mainstream media and the Democrats, certainly. They're telling them things that are simply not true. The good thing about this is we have the facts on our side. And the reason I put the big, beautiful bill on such an aggressive timetable, a fast track to get it signed into law by July 4th, which was a self-imposed deadline that we met, was because we wanted people to experience the truth of what the bill will do for them. This is going to be like 2019. Before COVID, after the first 2 years of the Trump administration, we brought about the greatest economy in the history of the world. I mean, every demographic was doing better, Garrett. Really, everybody. Rising wages, more job opportunities, people climbing the ladder. We're going to get back to that again, but we did what we did in 2018, 2017, this time on steroids. This was a truly big, beautiful bill with something for everybody. And the lower and middle class earners are going to feel the biggest effects of that. If you make between $15,000 and $30,000, $15,000 and $80,000 a year, you're going to have, on average, about a 15% lower tax burden. The typical American family is going to have about $13,000 more in their pocket.
$13,000.
That's right, because of the results of all this. We increased the
standard. So they don't see
that
by November of next year. They can hold you accountable.
They'll see it, and they will vote accordingly. I mean, the economy is going to be doing well. This is jet fuel to the economy. We're going to have American energy dominance, peace through strength again. We're going to have regulatory reform to get everybody going, get the engines of government going again, pro-growth economy. And we're absolutely convinced that this is going to serve us well. So the Democrats will be out trying to convince people of something that is simply not true. We'll be able to demonstrate the opposite. I really like our chances.
10 years from now, what do you think will have been more important? The big, beautiful law or crypto legislation recently passed here in the House?
Well, I'm going to be biased and tell you it's the big, beautiful law, okay, because it is so comprehensive. I do think it's one of the most consequential pieces of legislation that Congress has ever passed, and I'm a student of these things. But I will tell you that the crypto legislation is a big thing as well. And having done the stablecoin and the market structure bills through the House, really, really important for that growing sector of the economy. It will spur on innovation and more investment, and I think it's going to be a big thing for the future. So we're doing lots of things.
And create more alternatives for secure transactions that don't have to flow through banks, which some people would prefer.
If you believe in freedom, you got to support all of that, and we do. We're also equally convinced that there should not be a central bank digital currency, which is the other piece we've got to secure.
Right.
Because we don't want the government having that kind of power to be able to, oversee the personal banking of everyone, and that's what that would lead to. So this is a pro-freedom rally cry, and one that we're going to try to get that done one way or the other through the end of this Congress.
You mentioned central digital currency. There is a central bank in our country. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
How comfortable or uncomfortable are you, Mr. Speaker, with the president's repeated denunciations and jawboning, and that's putting it mildly, of the Fed Chair Jerome Powell?
Well, I understand the president's frustration. I do believe that he should reduce interest rates, and it's really too much power to be held in the hands of one person or a board, and he has a board. But it is what it is. That's our system. But right now, home ownership...
Firing him would be dangerous to confidence in the American system, would it not?
Yeah, I'm not even sure clearly what the legal parameters are of that. But I will say this. His term ends soon, in a matter of months.
May of next year.
Yes. And it's a rocky road for him between now and then. I do believe, a lot of economists will say, when the economy is hot, when it's running, and ours is, and we're ramping up lots of great developments, that is not a time for you to reduce interest rates. But I think desperate times call for desperate measures, and right now, in housing, for example, new data came out today. There's just a glut in the housing market because people cannot afford to get into a new home right now. And if you reduce the rates just a small percentage, you can solve that problem. And I think that and other large purchases, I think that would be a big thing for the economy, and I think he ought to duly consider that. It would save the nation a lot of money, and it would give a lot more people more opportunity.
You've heard all year long the tariff conversation. How do you assess it now?
Well, I've been involved in the tariff conversation, not just heard it. But look, I think...
You know what I'm talking about.
Of course, yeah. I think it's going to settle out. I've always considered myself...
The Treasury Secretary said today a one-time increase from tariffs is not inflationary, by definition. If it happens once, it's not inflationary. It's just an adjustment to the economic structure. Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I do, and inflation is cooling. The sky was going to fall, everybody told us, and it hasn't. The tariff policies have actually brought in a lot of new revenue, and by some estimates, $300 billion.
That's how it pencils out for the year.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money, and we can use that well, and we can use it to get the country out of debt. So on balance, that's a great thing. I think what the president did, he sees lots of blind spots that others don't, and this is one of those things. He's been talking about tariffs since he was being interviewed by Oprah Winfrey, back in the 80s. But what happened was there was a lot of countries that were being unfair. We had unfair trade practices with other countries, unfair agreements. And the president was offended by that and said, we got to fix it. And he's the only one bold enough to have done it. I was in the Oval Office last night, Garrett, when the Japanese delegation... I keep doing that. Mr. Garrett, all right, Major. I was in the Oval Office last night when the Japanese delegation was there to negotiate their big trade agreement. And the president called me in. I was outside in the waiting area, and he said, bring the speaker in. And he said, Mr. Speaker, what do you think about this deal? And they're sitting there having the negotiation with translators and the whole thing. It was a masterclass. I mean, he is really the king of the art of the deal. He wrote the book. And to watch him handle that situation and get us to this, what may be one of the largest trade agreements of all time, to watch it live and see it happen in that way was really something. And it's going to be great for the country. He's the force multiplier for the U.S. economy. He's the one that is getting us to these new trade agreements with other countries, and it's far more fair for us and advantageous for American consumers. I think that's good policy.
Should Congress be involved in authorizing and approving these trade deals? The administration says Congress doesn't need to be a part of it at all. Historically, it has been.
Well, it depends on how you look at history. I mean, traditionally, Congress has given a lot of latitude to the executive to negotiate these things, and if the executive sees that there is a trade imbalance, they have traditionally had the authority to do that. I'm a jealous guardian of Article 1, and we are the first branch of government for a reason, and that's how the founders intended it. I'm a constitutional law attorney. I take this stuff very seriously. If I feel like the executive is stepping out of their lane, then I will suggest a course correction. I would do it with honey, not vinegar, to begin, but I have a very close relationship with the president. We talk constantly all the time about these things, and I watch it very closely.
To that point, Punchbowl wrote this morning, and I know you respect Punchbowl, the GOP, and I'm quoting here, the GOP-controlled House is an arm of the White House. If you're a Congress watcher, you understand this. Under Speaker Johnson and Trump, the House simply isn't an independent branch of government anymore. Whether it's on Russia sanctions, the Jeffrey Epstein files, or voting for a $5 trillion debt limit increase, House Republicans do whatever Trump tells them to do.
That's nonsense. What Punchbowl is commenting on is the fact that we're working as in unified government, which is a rare occasion in our system. We have the Republican Party in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House. The Speaker of the House and the President have a very close working relationship, and we are running a playbook that was very carefully designed. We worked on the big, beautiful bill for a year and a half before we delivered that product over the goal line. I foresaw this moment in time, and victory loves preparation. So that makes the Democrats and it makes the authors of Punchbowl very nervous because they don't want the Republican Party to advance our policies as efficiently and effectively as we are. They don't give us any credit in Punchbowl for having the most successful 6 months of any Congress and administration, arguably, and at least in the modern era, and maybe one of the top 2 or 3 in all of the history of this institution. So I take that as a badge of honor. There is a big difference, and what people don't see is the discussions behind the curtains, the discussions that I personally have with the President of the United States. We game this out. I prevent conflicts between the branches before they occur, so that when the policies are announced, it's things that we have already predetermined are in the best interest of the country. So it looks as though we're not standing up when I've already had the difficult discussions but behind the closed door. So that's what you call good governance. It's very important for the Speaker of the House and the President to have a close working relationship, and I make no apology about that at all.
Before I let you go, let's talk immigration for just a second. CBS News poll, March on President Trump, approved 54, disapproved 46. Just this last weekend, disapproved 56, approved 44. One of the reasons is our data shows more people now than ever before believe the deportations are not limited to dangerous criminals or national security threats. 58% oppose the way deportation facilities are being used, and overall disapproval of deportation writ large for the first time, 51-49, when in February it was 59-41 approve. Is this going in the wrong direction? Is this administration overreaching and creating not just policy harms, but political risks?
Well, I can tell you that the focus has been on the dangerous illegal aliens. By our estimation, it's probably close to 20 million illegal aliens came across the border over the 4 years of Joe Biden, who professed to me personally and publicly that he had no power whatsoever to change it. That was obviously nonsense, because President Trump sealed that border closed within just a couple of months. We had almost 0 illegal crossings over the border in the last month when they were monitoring all this. So he accomplished what he told the voters that he would do. The border was the #1 issue in the election, and people were alarmed by that.
Do you dispute this trend line I'm describing?
I don't put a lot of stock in polls. I would concede that it's something that we have to do a lot of education on to remind people of what is happening and why and how it's being done. We just, in the Big Beautiful Bill, gave a big tranche of funds to border security.
Tens of billions.
One of the biggest investments in generations, because desperate times call for desperate measures, and that's what was needed. That's what the American people demanded. They wanted a secure border, and they wanted us to make sure that people who jumped the line and tricked the system and got in front of law-abiding immigrants who are trying to follow the rules and come here lawfully, they want to make sure that that behavior is not rewarded. And so that's what the president is doing. That's what the administration is doing. They're trying to work through that and make sure that we follow the rule of law and that we enforce the law. And that's what's happening.
And when you see stories about green card holders or those who have legally applied for asylum, or Afghan SIV, special immigrant visa holders, being caught up in this mill, in this dragnet, that doesn't concern you? That doesn't feel excessive?
Well, no, it would be of concern if people who should not be caught in the dragnet are, and those will be carefully evaluated cases. But you have to give ICE a lot of credit, for example, in doing what they're doing. I visited the ICE offices in Chicago, and they're in charge of about a 6-state region. The officers there are overworked, underpaid. They're maligned by public officials. Democrats are actually telling people to assault them, and some of them are doing it themselves. I mean, it's a very difficult job, and they need our support and encouragement to do what they're doing. If they make a mistake every now and then, everybody does, and we have to address that as it happens. But the idea that we should impede their effort or to stop the enforcement of federal law is to me nonsensical and dangerous, and that's what got us into the mess that we're in.
Will there be a shutdown in September?
Not if I have anything to say about it. We have no interest in a shutdown. I'm interested. I heard or read today that Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries were meeting and gaming it out. They've weaponized shutdowns for political purposes. It seems that that's what they would like to do. We want to do our work, and we're pushing the appropriations through the process. By the end of this week, we will have had 10 of the 12 appropriations bills in the House,
through
committee.
Not to the floor, but to the committee.
Right, but we're in that process, and we get back early September will be a critical phase, because the end of the fiscal year is the end of September, of course. But the Milcon VA bill, the first appropriations through the process, will be processed in the Senate. The House appropriations bill for the first time in a long time. That's an innovation around here, Major, and a good one. We will go probably to a conference committee between the two chambers and try to work all this out. We're trying to rebuild muscle memory, because this is important for fiscal responsibility. And that's something we committed to get back to, and I'm hopeful we can.
Mr. Speaker, I appreciate the time. Let's do it again.
Great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much.